Today's lesson is about percent of change. In this lesson, you will learn to calculate percent of change in real-world problems. So here are the notes that I gave you, and notice we're still using our percent proportion as our format. So we have the amount of change as our numerator over the original amount equals the percent over 100. Now the percent of change can either be an increase or a decrease. You really have to read your problem. If from the first to the second data point the number went up, well then that's a percent increase. If from the first data point to the second data point it went down, then we have a percent decrease. And you want to make sure that when you write your answer, if it's asking you for a percent, you've got that label. So here's how it's going to work. We have a problem about a baseball player. If a baseball player hit 20 home runs last year and 25 home runs this year, what is his percent of change? Is it an increase or a decrease? So what we're going to do is we have to figure out the change. So the difference between the 25 and the 20 means that there were 5 home runs different. So that's going to be our numerator. The change between the amount of home runs is 5. The original, well, it says last year we had 20. So the original amount was 20. Is going to equal our percent over 100. So when you solve this, you take 5 times 100 divided by 20, and you will get the answer 25%. Well, that answers what is the percent of change. It does not answer the second part. To answer the second part, you're going to go back and you're going to say, well, he hit 20 last year and 25 this year, so that went up. So we have a 25% increase. All right, let's try the basketball player. He made 14 points last year and 21 points this year. So first we have to figure out how much that changed. So I'm going to take the bigger number minus the smaller number, and we have 7 points difference. So that's our change. That's going to be our numerator. The original amount, well, it says right here, last year it was 14. So our original amount was 14 will equal the percent over 100. Go ahead and pause me and solve this, and then come back and let's check your answer. All right, so you should have taken 7 times 100, whatever that answer was, divided by 14. And I think you ended up with 50%, which answers this question, what is her percent of change, but not the second one. So then we just have to go back and we have to think carefully. Well, if there were 14 points per game last year and 21 points per game this year, that is an increase from 14 to 21. So we have a 50% increase. All right, so here we have our football player problem, and you have already solved 2 of these on your own. So what I want you to do is read this one to yourself, and then when you're ready to solve it, pause me, work it out, and when you're ready to check, come back and check with me. All right, so the first thing we need to figure out is the change between the rushing yards last year and the rushing yards this year. So we take the bigger number minus the smaller number, and there was a change in 23 yards. So that's my numerator. Then I have to figure out the original amount. So it says right here, last year he had 83. So 83 becomes my denominator, and that equals the percent over 100. Now when you solved this, you got a very long decimal. You ended up with 27.7108434. And I told you, whenever you come up with an answer like that, you should look to see, did I ask you to round it? and I sure did on this one, to the nearest tenth. So we're going to put our cut line in. This one is not big enough to do any rounding, so we're just going to cut that off. And we're going to have 27 7/10%. And it went from 83 last year to 60 this year, so that is a decrease. All right, same deal on this one. You're going to read it to yourself, and when you're ready to work it, pause me. Start me back up again when you're ready for checking. All right, so we have to figure out the change to start with, and we went from 435 students this year, and that is up from 460 students last year. So I'm going to take the bigger number minus the smaller number, and I'm going to get a change of 25 students. Now this one I tried to trick you because it says last year it was 460, and that will equal x over 100. When you take 25 times 100 and you divide by 460, you are going to get, again, a not so nice decimal. 5.4347826. But I did ask you to round it to the nearest tenth, so I'm going to put my cut line in. This 3 is not big enough to round it, so that goes away. My answer is 5 4/10%, and it went from 460 last year to 435 this year. So that means we have a 5.4% decrease. Okay, so this one's a little different, so let's walk through this one together. It says an average price per gallon of gas in 1970 was $1.70. And in 2007 it was higher, but we don't know what it was in 2007. We know the percent of change was 68, and that was rounded to the nearest whole percent. So let's see if we can get some information into our format. We know 100 is going to go here. We know the percent goes here. And we know the original price, which was the 1970 price, that goes right there. So when we solve that, we're going to end up with, when we take 170 times 68 divided by 100, we're going to get $1.16. But remember, $1.16 is the amount it changed. So if it had been $1.70, $1.70, and it increased by $1.16, that means in 2007 it was $2.86. So it's time for you to try this one by yourself. It's like the last one, where you know how much it was, $280. You know it went down by 21%, and we want to know what the sale price was. Go ahead and pause me. Try to work it out, and when you're ready for checking, come back. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our proportion with what we know. We know 100 is going to go there. We know the percent goes here. And we know that the first price was 280. So when you multiply 280 times 21 and divide by 100, you're going to get x equals $58.80. Now notice this was a decrease. So if I take 280 that it used to be, minus the 58.80 because it's on sale, the sale price is going to be $221.20.